So without further ado, I'd like to introduce the CEO of Microsoft Corporation, Steve Ballmer. Thank you.
Well, thanks. It's my honor and privilege to have a chance to speak with you here today. To some of you, I guess I can fairly say welcome. To those of you who have already been here a few days, I'll say a belated welcome. We're super delighted that you chose to spend the time with us talking about some of the most exciting and interesting innovations going on inside Microsoft. This is a Project and Visio conference. Project and Visio. And is that just a concatenation of two products? Or is that really kind of a theme we should talk about? And we really decided it's a very important theme. As we take a look at Project and Visio and who buys the products and what their interests are and where they come from, there's really a lot of commonality between the two products. Project and Visio are the parts of the Microsoft product line, the innovations that in a sense most feel and fit with the desire of businesses to manage process in addition to collaborate and manage and understand data. And so we find that many of the same people, the same customers, the same vertical segments have passion and interest in these projects. IT departments managing large projects and processes are excellent customers for both of these products. People who are trying to comply with Sarbanes-Oxley and chart those processes and manage the projects that are required to comply tend to look at these products together. Our teams who build these products work together carefully because there's a set of functions that are going on around business process and projects in companies around the globe that our teams in these areas have world-class expertise. This is a big business for Microsoft. We will do over $1 billion in revenue around business process just through the lens of our Visio and Project businesses this year. And we think we've barely begun, in some senses, to scratch the surface. If you take a look at all of the, let's say, process and projects, if I might say just in the sales and marketing functions around the globe, very little of those have been automated with formal process. R&D more so, manufacturing more so, IT more so. But I still think that we've barely begun to scratch the surface. And so if you take a look and say, what's $1 billion software company? It's the 25th largest software company in the world if it was standalone. And the range of opportunities to innovate to improve the management of process and projects to us remains enormous. We have over 300 partners who have independent applications that run in this ecosystem, and over 1,300 partners around the world who are not only with their own applications, but have expertise and focus on Visio, on Project, and on the business process aspects that we see around the globe. These are products that are adopted from the very largest organizations in the world down to the very smallest. Allianz in financial services, Mercedes-Benz in the manufacturing business, GE, Kenwood, NHS, the local little real estate developer who builds the Microsoft office buildings, all customers for Project and Visio because these things really fit in the context of what they're doing. So we're talking about an area that is large, an area that I think will grow in terms of opportunity, not just for us, but significantly for our partners. I think our partners realize something like $5 to $7 of revenue for every dollar of product revenue that we see. So it's an enormous partner opportunity. And yet, every time I sit down and talk to Richard Wolf, who runs our Visio business, or Mike Angiulo, they have a list this long of new customers, new process, new things, new innovations that can really help to continue to transform the world of folks who use these kinds of products and work in this kind of a world. Today, actually I think a little bit earlier this week, but I want to be formal about it, we're also announcing the acquisition of another major piece of the puzzle of tool sets and innovations to help us work with folks who are engaged in these kinds of processes. We have acquired some software and intellectual property from UMT that really puts us in a position now to also offer portfolio management, if you will, which in some senses bridges the world of projects and process and the world of decision support and business intelligence. So now instead of just talking about what does this project look like, how do we lay the process out, what's going to happen, we want to give decision support tools that tie to the project management system. Which of these projects are most valuable? Which are least valuable? Which are most worth investing in? And based upon those decisions, how does it affect the resources that I have to allocate against these projects? Think about this particularly in the sense of a CIO. Well over half of all of the projects that CIOs consider don't get funded. Now, you might say for an IT vendor like Microsoft, that's just a terrible piece of news, but it remains the case. CIOs confront every day decisions about which projects to fund and what that does for scarce resources. And so providing tools, whether it's to the CIO or other decision makers that help really bridge these two things, is essential. And with this acquisition of UMT, we will for the first time bring portfolio management to our customers in this world of business process and analysis of what to do about it. So we're excited about not only the momentum we have in the market, but we have, with this UMT acquisition, some things that we'll be doing in the very near term to really ratchet up and step up what we're doing and the innovations that we bring to this customer set in the very near future. Most of what we want to talk about today in my keynote, between me and a great set of folks who will come on and do some demonstrations for you, is where we're going with Office, and where Project and Visio fit into that over the course of the next year. We're hard at work at something that we still, for lack of a better name, call Office 12, the next version of Office. And our focus in Office has been clear. We're trying to innovate to allow people to continue to improve their ability to lead what Bill Gates likes to call the digital work style. How do we make more and more things that go on in business able to operate smoothly and efficiently and empower people to make better decisions through digital techniques? At the end of the day, as we said in our little video that sort of opened up the morning, it's people that drive business success. Microsoft Office, we see it in some senses as the bridge between that whole world of both information and process and these people who need to drive the business, make the decisions, drive the process, and really make businesses succeed. So with people at the center, there's three areas where we're trying to innovate broadly in the next version of Office. Number one, we're trying to improve the tools that we give people to work with others across boundaries. There are all kinds of boundaries out there. There's the boundaries between organization A and organization B inside a big company. There's the boundaries between me and my vendors, me and my customers. We're trying to break those down. There's the boundaries between information source A and information source B, and I think we all have horror stories of how hard sometimes it is to connect up two pieces of information and make a decision. So in Office 12, there's a lot of work we're doing across the product line to break down those boundaries. Number two, we're trying to streamline access to information. Can you find what you need to find to make the decision you need to make? And it has lots of implications. As we talk about some of the new features today in Project, we'll talk about its improved usage of SharePoint. We want to take more of the information that today feels to some users bound up in the project management system and make it more available and more accessible to more end users. Mike Angiulo will show you some of that later on today. I want to be able to go to our intranet and just ask a question like, who is the account manager for Ford? I don't want to have to know what application owns that, learn the UI, blah, blah, blah. I just want to be able to pose a query and get an answer. With what we're doing with the new SharePoint, we're trying to improve enterprise search so that you can unlock a lot of data that's in mission-critical systems to the kinds of searching and sharing and finding that people expect to do. We're trying to help people better control content and process. We're going to talk a lot about that, and we'll show you a couple of demonstrations. One from the realm of compliance, which is a big theme in business today, and one from the realm of IT governance that are really all about enabling people to better control the content they create and the process that's around it. Now, at the center of all this innovation at Office 12 is a dramatic improvement in the core user interface to Microsoft Office. We want to make more of the capability and functionality that's in these products available to all users. Everybody knows somebody who wishes they could use 5 more features in Excel or Word. In this crowd, I think it's probably fair to say everybody knows folks who can't sort of get started in the way they want to with a product like Microsoft Project. With the kind of transformation that we're doing with the user interface, we're trying to make more and more of the capability transparent and open up whole new categories of users for products like Microsoft Project and many, many others. So Office 12 is the most significant piece of innovation we've brought to market for the information worker. I'm going to guess in 10 plus years. It's an amazing piece of work. Project, major enhancement. Visio, major enhancement. Excel, Access. Outlook scheduling. And we'll show you some about how Outlook scheduling and its innovations tie into what we're doing in Project. Word and PowerPoint in the communication realm. Some significant improvements there. But it's really about the way the whole is bigger than the sum of the parts. The way we introduce portal, workflow, business intelligence across the product line that really allows us to innovate with people very much at the center. Visio 12 is an important release. We bought Visio, my mind's getting older, but roughly 5 years or so ago. I thought we've done a very nice job of getting it fully integrated into the Microsoft Office product suite, but really putting the pedal to the metal and adding a lot of new features targeted at what I might call core Visio functionality. That's what you get to see in Visio 12. We guided ourselves with 3 primary scenarios: network and IT management, business process excellence, and information reporting and analysis. And with those scenarios guiding us, we added new capabilities in 3 areas. First is visualization, document and design. We wanted to make sure that you could literally pop data from a wide variety of sources: SharePoint, OLADB, an arbitrary database, and just pop it directly inside a Visio diagram. We wanted to make sure that we could refresh those diagrams automatically. So we did a bunch of work on data graphics refresh. We want to make it easier to auto-connect a Visio diagram to a back-end data source. So that's the area of visualization. Analysis. Analysis is sort of my favorite area, and I'm now just sort of letting my mind run wild over what's possible with the new Visio. But we basically introduced the concept of what I might call pivot, or what we will call pivot diagrams. I'm a pivot chart lover in Excel. We now have the equivalent, the logical equivalent, you let your mind run there, inside Visio, which I think will be fantastic new functionality for analysis, what if type of thinking. And in the area of communication, we have a whole new set of shapes and themes in Visio, and we have much deeper out-of-the-box integration with the rest of Office 12, which I think should continue to improve people's ability to use the tools to communicate. To do a demonstration of Visio 12, I'd like to invite up on stage with me Sandy Sharma, who's Vice President of Technology and Strategy at INS, one of our partners. Sandy's going to take the opportunity to show you a demonstration of how Visio 12 can be used inside a business compliance process scenario, if you will, and hopefully that'll wet your whistle just a little bit. Please welcome on stage Sandy Sharma.
Thank you, Steve. Good morning, everyone. INS is a global system integration partner with Microsoft. We focus on infrastructure, security, business productivity solutions. Our business productivity solutions are built on the Microsoft stack. And recently we've seen a lot of uptake in compliance. And for us, it's always an ongoing endeavor to look for new opportunities on how we can enhance our solutions with technology. So today, I'm honored and excited to show you how the new Visio 12 and Office, the whole stack, is enabling us to build great solutions. Amongst these, of course, is a compliance solution, which we're going to talk about today. So compliance is a very broad subject. We're going to focus on some aspects of Sarbanes-Oxley. And within Sarbanes-Oxley, one of the big challenges that companies have is documentation of processes. So you have a lot of business processes which you have to document, and companies like to do that visually. They've always been using Visio to do the documentation. The challenge, though, has been, how do I connect that visual diagram with the risks and controls associated with those processes? Because the risk documentation typically might happen in Excel or in SharePoint or in a Word document, and the controls are also documented elsewhere. There is no easy way to connect these, and that's what we're going to show you as one capability today. So we're going to start with, we're using a SharePoint as a process portal, and what you see on top is a bunch of processes that I've documented. At the bottom, I have some reusable sub-processes. We'll differentiate those in a minute for you. And on the right, I have a list of risks which have already been identified. And these can be categorized, as you can see. And then corresponding to each risk, there is typically a control to mitigate that risk. So let us first look at what the new Visio 12 can do with us in terms of improving our productivity to do the documentation. Because there's loads of these processes to be documented, and you definitely want productivity. So I'm just going to load some of these with a macro. I'm going to use a simple cache disbursement process to showcase this. So let's first create a document here. I'm putting in a request. The auto connect feature that Steve just talked about, that allows me to simply click on the arrow and connect a decision box right away. This might seem trivial, but for people who are documenting thousands of processes, this is a big deal. Now I'm just going to go ahead and complete the rest of the process just by adding a few more shapes. Loading these with a macro. Now the thing that we talked about was linking this process diagram with data I have elsewhere. So I have textual or numerical data which is not linked to this diagram, and that's what the challenge is in my documentation. So we use our new data link capability to import data into shapes. I can get data from a bunch of sources. Excel, Access, SharePoint. In this case, if you remember on our portal, we had a list of risks, which was a SharePoint list. So we're going to go ahead and import that. I'm going to select what I need here. I'm going to select risks and link it as a view. So cache disbursement is the view I'm interested in. So as I import the data in, what you see at the bottom is those risks from SharePoint have now shown up in Visio. So this is a new Visio 12 capability, which is very compelling because now I have an ability to associate the shapes with the data, which is what I'm going to do next. So I can take one of these and drag and drop it here. So really what I'm doing is that the first risk that I had has been associated with a specific process shape in my process flow diagram. And now we're going to show you another new Visio capability, a new Visio 12 capability, which is called data graphics. And this is really nice to visualize what's happening with my data. I've linked the data. Now I'm going to visualize data in a meaningful way with coloring and graphics. So example is risk impact, right? If the impact is high, I'm going to show a red color. Impact is low, I'm going to show green, and medium is yellow. Similarly, I can show the risk probability level to be a data bar. So the progress could show me the risk probability level, and then I could associate the risk ID, which is these numbers R1 through R7, as another ID that shows up in the visual. Going to just go ahead and now also load in similarly my controls. So if you see now I have the controls down here. We skipped a few steps just to expedite the demo. I'm going to close this out and show you what this completed diagram looks like. If you see here now I have a cash disbursement process, right, which has an approval stage, cash payment stage. We've identified areas which have risk, probability of risk, and corresponding controls. Now, as we test our controls, which is part of my Sarbanes-Oxley requirement, I have to report on the effectiveness of the controls. And that effectiveness is also symbolized here with the check mark. So now we're going to go ahead and save this diagram of ours. Now, I'm saving this as a reusable sub-process, and this is a big value add in Visio 12. As I do my process documentation, there are lots of processes which can be predefined and reused again and again, and that gives me a content library of processes. A lot of people we've been working with have been asking for that for years. So we had to do that in a kludgy manner with some coding and customization, but this now comes out of the box with Visio 12. So I save this as a new reusable sub-process. I go back to my portal. And now, if you look at some of my existing process diagrams that I've started, I will show you how in marketing and trade advances, I will use this sub-process that I've already created. So right here, we've already started a diagram. I'm actually going to go ahead and search for sub-processes. So there is a little bit of custom programming involved to do this, but most of it is out-of-the-box functionality. So cash disbursement is a sub-process that we just created. If you notice, that comes across with these two bars on it, shows you that it's a predefined process. So it came from an existing content library of processes. So you see very great integration between Visio and SharePoint here, and that's what's enabling companies to do content management with Visio diagrams, which is, I think, a brilliant capability. Now we add the rest of the shapes here and complete our diagram. And when you have a completed high-level process diagram, I still have the ability to drill down into my sub-process that I've created. So I can click on that and say show process. And this is the process we just created in the past. Now this, I think, is brilliant in terms of process diagramming, and it's not just limited to compliance. I'm sure your cogwheels are turning and you're thinking about 100 different applications where you can use this. That's kind of what's happening to us. So let's close this out. Now, the second challenge with compliance is about reporting and visualization, right? Executives on a quarterly basis have to report on the effectiveness of the controls. I'm sure you do that.
I sign off or go to jail.
Right. So now that's a pretty significant scenario there, right? So let's look at how we can help keep Steve out of jail.
Thank you, Sandy.
Okay. So we go to our compliance projects, and the Visio pivot diagrams that Steve was talking about is what we're showcasing here. Now, as Steve mentioned earlier, we're showing how Project Server first can be used to manage all your compliance projects. Compliance, just like any other initiative, has risks, it has issues, it has people, it has tasks, it has milestones. So what better than Project Server to use to manage your compliance initiatives? That's what we're showing at the bottom. On top, we're showing the Visio pivot diagrams, where we're showing you how with color coding, you can easily visualize what's going on in my environment. If Steve himself had to drill through all his divisions and identify risk areas in a textual table, that would not be that easy. But the red color here stands out because this shows that you're delayed in your schedule for compliance. So you click on North America, and then within North America, you see manufacturing is the division where I have a problem. So you click on that, and as you see, the view at the bottom is also changing. So expanding the project view as you're doing the pivot drill down into your Visio diagram there. Now within that, sales seems to be the division with the problems. So you click into that, And now if you see under marketing and trade show advances, the one we just built, they're behind schedule, documentation is 40%, and control effectiveness is 30%. Obviously, Steve is not going to be happy about that, right?
Not at all.
So we,
actually, it's a material weakness.
So we click on that and go to the project workspace. Now this is a SharePoint Project 12 feature, which you've seen. And in here, David Campbell is the process owner. So the way Steve is going to end this demo, if it was him, he's going to send him a hate mail, right? So that's kind of how our demo...
We'll let you send it.
Okay. So I'm not going to write it. That might be just a little too controversial. So we'll leave it there. But that's the idea, right? You open up that, and you open an email and send an email out as a reminder. So what I showed you here today was not just how Visio, Project come together, SharePoint, the whole Office stack. It's truly coming together in a new way. We've been building a lot of solutions for a lot of customers for a long time. But in the last few months, we've dedicated a team to work with the Office 12 team. And we're finding that the platform is way more glued together than it was before. Now, as an SI, should I be worried about that because it takes away professional services dollars? Probably, but we're smarter than that. Because I think for our customers and for our developers, it reduces the risk and gives us more opportunity to do much more for you and focus on the business value, studying the processes and change management than just to worry about, doing custom coding where it's not needed. So that's what we're excited about. We're building a lot of solutions in IT governance, in manufacturing, in retail, and healthcare, and we continue to innovate as Microsoft supports us in this innovation. Thank you all.
Thank you, Sandy.
Thank you.
Nice job. As exciting as the new version of Visio is, the new version of Project is also a very exciting release. I asked Mike backstage, come on, between us chickens, tell me, is this so to speak, is this a bread basket or a refrigerator, or is it something in between? Bigger than a bread basket, smaller than a refrigerator. Mike says, this is a Sub-Zero. This is the biggest set of innovations we've done in Project in a long time. And in a sense, you could say they fall into 4 categories. First, and probably foremost, is we just make it easier to get started with Project. I mean, the holy grail in some senses for us is there's so many more people that can benefit from the kinds of innovations that Project brings. We've got to continuously push to make it easier to get into the game. We did a couple big things I'd put into this category. Number one is the integration of the new Outlook scheduling, which is amazing, with the schedule and project information inside Project, so that somebody with Outlook can participate, if you will, without getting started on the full Project Professional product. The other thing that we did is the integration with SharePoint, and Mike's going to show that to you because it makes it easy for a lot of people to get at project management data who might have found that harder in the past. That's number one. Number two, we've tried to raise the visibility and insight into data that comes by using Project. Portfolio management, and the stuff that I was talking about in the UMT case falls into that area. Better reporting and analysis for proposals and maintenance work is an important part of that. Particularly if you think about folks who are outside the main project flow, it's the reports on a project. It is a report on the proposal. It is a report on ongoing work that a user like me, a CEO, a CXO would typically use. And I think we've really made it a lot easier to give insight and visibility to project data with these innovations. Number three, we put a lot of effort into the enterprise, particularly on performance. I understand those of you who were at the project conference earlier in the week got a little bit of a sense of how much we've improved the performance. But I think that is absolutely essential. We get 100 to 1 on certain kinds of things because of the improvements that we've made in the way we do caching. And last but certainly not least is the extensibility. Really transforming Project to sit on top of the .NET and SharePoint infrastructure means that all of the tools and improvements that we've made to make it easy to build extensions using that tool set can now be linearly integrated, if you will, with the rest of the project management experience. And as developers like Sandy and many, many in this room and around the world want to build out custom projects, custom processes, custom workflows, we think that having this extensibility be simpler and have you have access to better and better tools really makes for a great combination. So it's a major step forward for us in one of the biggest businesses inside Microsoft. And to show you an example of Project 12 being used in the IT governance area, I want to invite back on stage Mike Angiulo, General Manager of our project business. Mike.
Great. Thank you very much. So I'd like to show you guys a prototype of an IT governance solution that's based on the new Project 12. I'm going to start by going to my Project Web Access homepage, where you can see a variety of web parts pulling together the different pieces of information I need as an IT manager to stay on top of my department. At the top is a scorecard, and that comes from Business Scorecard Manager, and it shows me the key performance indicators.
Business Scorecard Manager, a new Microsoft Business Intelligence project released within the last 6 months.
And that helps pull information out of my line of business system, like the SAP information showing me how I'm doing against my budget on various parts of my portfolio. And here I can see I'm a little bit in the red. Over here, I have a pie chart that's being pulled down from Office Server, and this is showing me the breakdown of the work that I'm spending on innovation versus operations. And I kind of don't like that picture. Ideally, I'd like to see those better balanced. This is one of the metrics I use to determine whether I'm really leading the business with investing in innovation, or whether I'm chasing the business by just continuously maintaining legacy systems. We're going to take a look at that in a second. Down here, I have a view into my project center where I can drill into the current projects that I have in operation. I can see what's on time, what's over budget. I can get to very specific task information and follow up. But what I want to do this morning is take a few minutes to plan the 2006 project mix. My goal is to pick a better set of work for next year that's going to support my company's objectives and hopefully balance my portfolio. So I'm going to click on the project proposals link, and this takes me to something that's brand new in Project 12, the whole concept of web-based proposal management. Here I have a Visio flow process that shows me the governance steps in between starting with an idea for a proposal all the way to a fully funded project. Right now, I'm at the stage of analyzing the impact and picking which projects I'm going to fund. I can see that I have a total budget of $10 million to spend and $29 million worth of ideas. So in a way, that's a good thing. I've got a lot of work to do, but not enough money to do it all. This puts me in a position to have to make some hard choices. Let me drill into one of these proposals and show you what shows up behind that title. There's a new feature in Project Server 12 that lets you, through a simple web interface, enter a project proposal. You don't have to have a whole schedule. You don't have to start with Project Pro. I can simply come into this SharePoint list, give a title. So here it's a proposal to create a Mandarin language e-commerce website. I can give it some parameters on time, a top-level budget, and down here I have 4 choices of how this proposal aligns to the business drivers that my executive committee has set up. Supporting current business growth, innovation, cost efficiency, and operational efficiency are the 4 top-line goals that I have on my review. And I can see whether this proposal moves the ball forward on which of those. And I can see here this is a strong supporter of business growth. Could be a very interesting proposal. But even more than just the description, I can click a link called Work Details and see the tasks and the various ideas of what I think it's going to take to turn that proposal into a project. Now again, this was a list of tasks that for the first time with Project 12, people could put in directly in a SharePoint list. So if I have an idea, I can get my idea into the system without having to be a project manager or engage a project manager. Furthermore, by clicking Resource Plan, another new feature in Project 12, I can look out over the next 6 months and see what kind of commitment, in addition to the budget, is it going to take to make this happen. So I can look at the different kinds of resources I might apply, either by skill, by named resources, or generic resources, and tell in full-time equivalents it's going to take 1 architect during this period, it's going to take 6 testers during this period, and really put a full picture together of what that proposal entails. If I go back to my list of proposals now, today I might start picking through and saying, well, this proposal looks good, I think I'll take these 3, and kind of make a choice-by-choice analysis until I have $10 million worth of work. But now, for the first time, I can say the new member of the Microsoft project family, the UMT Portfolio Manager, is going to take this proposal list and give me a much more powerful environment where I can apply real calculation and real analytics to make and communicate this decision. So here's the proposal grid that I just pulled in. Again, these colors indicate the alignment of various proposals with my business drivers. Now, my business drivers have been ranked, and so when I click next, the UMT product can actually go proposal by proposal and give me a very, very detailed view of these ideas ranked by value to me. But I don't live in a perfect world where I get to make an optimum selection every time. There's work that I just have to get done. There's no way I'm
kind of like security.
Kind of like security. Kind of like maintaining my existing systems. Kind of like working on those compliance-driven controls so we don't send you to jail. I'm going to click Force In. I force those projects in. I have no question there. Furthermore, I have a limited budget. So I'm going to tell UMT that I have $10 million to spend instead of $30 million and run the portfolio optimizer. I now have a list of projects that have been selected based on my business drivers, the alignment of the project to the business drivers, and other constraints like my force-ins and my total budget. The scatter diagram here shows the projects in green which have been selected versus the projects in red which haven't. And I'm curious to know how well I've done. So I can come in here and do some advanced analysis and look at my efficient frontier. The efficient frontier, of course, is a set of the best bang for the buck. So for every dollar I spend as I move to the right, the dot on the green line is the most value that I could get for that given amount to spend. And my solution, this pink triangle, is a little bit off that line. You want to be as close as possible. But we can see I'm off that line precisely because of the projects that I forced in. So this is really the best that I can do. But what's super exciting about this environment is it's not just a modeling tool. I can take these decisions, and because those proposals live in Project 12, I can push these decisions back into Project, and now they've progressed in the workflow. These are now real projects. Again, for the first time, all of this done on the web. So these projects have now all been approved, and for each one of these, a new Windows SharePoint site's been created, a project workspace. I'm going to drill into the workspace for that Mandarin language website to show you what it comes up. It's not just a blank workspace. See, it comes pre-populated with checklists, specs, documents, best practices, and other policies to follow based on the kind of methodology that I have in the system. So whether it's a Microsoft Operations Framework or Microsoft Solutions Framework, it's methodology along with a place for people to start getting work done. Now, project managers can be assigning out these tasks. They can be collaborating on documents and ideas. If I drill down, I can see these tasks are live in the system. And like Steve was mentioning earlier, imagine that I'm a new member of this project team, and I don't even know where this site lives. I can go directly to my Outlook calendar, and new in Outlook 12 is the integration of tasks and calendar side by side. So we've done Outlook integration in the past, but the time and schedule management improvements in Outlook 12, plus the new improvements we've done with the task integration, make working in Outlook a completely natural way to be a participant in the project system. Here I'm going to click an Outlook task, which shows up on the same day that it's due. And I can open it up, and right from within my Outlook task view, I can come and say that task is 100% complete. And when I send that off, that's it. It's now a real task update in the project system. So I can look at my schedule indicator starts as yellow. When I refresh this page, that task has been updated, my resource availability has been updated, my task schedule has progressed, and my schedule is now in the green. So when I go back to my top-level IT governance page, I can see that 2006 is going to look like a better year for me. I have a better mix of work. I have real-time insight into what's going on in the work portfolio. I have connection directly into my line of business data, and all of this is powered by the innovations in Project 12. The web-based scheduling and analysis, the connection to line of business data like SAP, the connection of familiar tools like Outlook, and, of course, the brand-new addition to the project family, the UMT Portfolio Management Analysis tool. So that's a picture of how all of these work together.
Thank you, Mike. At the backbone of all of what you've seen today essentially lies our commitment to innovation. The kinds of stuff that you're seeing, I think, really takes us to a new place in terms of the tools that we give not only the end user to manage process and projects, but the tools that we give to those of you in the audience who are developers, who want to take that raw set of tools and customize for a variety of processes and a variety of workflows. What we find in this area is fascinating. There's some deep, detailed software development that some folks will do, and in some cases the workflows and the processes are done by, let's just say, for lack of a better word, non-technical people. When everybody was crunching for Sarbanes-Oxley, you really needed to be able to take everybody in the finance department, all hands on deck, and you had to let the end user participate directly in all of this work. And giving the right level of customization and the right level of end user flexibility is really at the heart and soul of a lot of this innovation commitment. People we put very much at the center. We showed you things today for the end user. But in the same way, developers are at the center of this vision, and IT people are at the center of this vision, because all of these folks really use these tools. At Microsoft, innovation is our lifeblood. We use these tools. It's the mission-critical part of the way we build our software. Because at the end of the day, software is kind of a funny thing. It never wears out, and it never gets used up. And it's only by pushing exciting new innovations like Project 12, like Visio 12, like UMT, that we're going to be able to continue to serve you, continue to interest you, and continue to thrive as a company. So I thank you very much not only for being here today and for your attention at the conference, but we have some of the most dedicated, enthusiastic users and critics, when necessary, of these innovations, and we appreciate all of the energy you put into not only your use of these products, but helping us to make them better and serve your interests better over time. So thanks, and I'll look forward to having a chance to take some of your questions and comments. It's been a real pleasure.
To set these up.
Mike's going to rejoin us for the question and answer session. Also, Richard Wolf, who runs all of the tools in the office area that have anything to do with graphics, including our Visio project. So please, there are mics, looks like, in the aisles. Please go to a mic, grab it. Be nice to hear your name, and have at us. Questions, comments, and we can go any place you want to go. We don't have to stay on point of the keynote.
Great, thanks. Yeah, please step up to the mics because we are recording this, so we need the questions in.
Hi, my name is Mark Reed, and I run a EPM solutions partner in Berkeley, California. My question is around the task, the context for tasks in the various applications. There are tasks in SharePoint, there are tasks in Project, there are tasks in the Microsoft Dynamics suite. There are timesheets in Dynamics. There are timesheets in Project. How is Microsoft going to rationalize those such that we can develop solutions that really can address all of the market?
Why don't I let you start, and then I want to do the bridge to Dynamics.
Okay,
Yeah.
Great, sure. It is absolutely the vision that an entire work management solution based on Project and SharePoint is the ultimate goal. You've seen today work around tasks in Outlook. Probably the most pervasive link that we've made is a combination of Outlook, SharePoint, and Project tasks today with 12. And that can reach broadly across the organization. The timesheet work we've done is completely customizable. You can connect it with Dynamics and Solomon, and Steve will talk about that in a second, as well as with SAP. And it is absolutely the vision that the ultimate work intelligence system can handle all of the work going on in the enterprise, scheduled work, unscheduled work, work that's coming in from a CRM system or a proposal system, and handle bottoms-up scheduling as well as top-down planning. And I think what we're showing in 12 are some really big steps in that direction.
The Dynamics team made made two key decisions over the last 2 years that are, I think, relevant to this. Number one, we are over time working to get one core platform that underlies the Dynamics product lines, which is, I think, important because it gives us a way to get the kind of convergence that you're asking for faster. Now, it doesn't mean we're not going to invest. We're going to continue investing in all of the Dynamics product lines, but we're trying to converge some of the underlying code. Number two, the Dynamics team said, look, we're just going to build on Office. Now, it's not literally true. You'll be able to get Dynamics without Office. But the way we're embracing SharePoint integration, Office integration, we talk a little bit publicly, externally about the work we're doing with SAP for Office and SAP integration under the so-called codename Mendocino. We've got all of that and a whole lot more because the Dynamics guys are just saying, we're going to assume Office, which lets us get to, I don't know, I wrote myself a note to check whether we get there, which release, but it allows us to say we're just going to embrace the task model, et cetera, that Office is already instanced in Project, in Outlook, and in SharePoint.
Thank you.
Thanks. Mike Tragan.
Hello, my name is Hans Kopser from Fuzzyware. I come from Germany. We are doing facility management on top of Visio because for us it's the perfect platform to do facility management. We are doing at Microsoft Germany, we are doing facility management with Visio. And I know in Redmond there is no facility management with Visio. And so you just said to me, Steve, that you do everything with your own products. My question is, why?
Yeah, Richard, why don't we? Yeah. I didn't know we didn't until I'll write while he tries to tap dance.
Yeah, thank you for acknowledging and pointing out how Visio is a great tool for doing facilities management. And I'm sure you'll see that a lot of what we've done with the data connectivity will make it an even better tool for facilities management. We are working with folks internally, some of our business unit IT departments, to understand whether and how quickly they can use Visio as a facilities management tool. So I'll certainly take this request back to them that it's a great idea, and we'll get working with them even quicker.
I believe we will, as we like to say, we like to use the word dog food, meaning try our own stuff. We'll get this fixed. Thank you for highlighting that opportunity.
And thank you for coming from the Visio side of the house and not the project. Mike 4.
Hi, I'm Beanie Masika. What kind of investment are you making in your documentation, your tutorials, so that I can look at something and have a better chance of figuring it out myself?
Yeah.
Go ahead, start.
Well, we have a variety of, when you're in the solutions delivery business, you really, really have to think of the documentation and the support as very much part of the product. It's not an afterthought. Project, especially in an EPM environment, is not a shrink wrap thing that drop and you're done with. We've created EPM University, which is a training program that you can go through at an enterprise level to walk you through the envisioning process as well as the deployment and management process. And so you can look at heavyweight documentation we're doing. You can go all the way through to the Microsoft Office Online, where we see millions and millions of unique users a month coming to learn tips and tricks and see basic end user documentation for individuals getting started. And finally, the Project Association is another great way for people who are new to project management to get connected with other experts in the field.
Yeah. I think the most interesting thing we've done in this space is really Office Online. And the thing that we've done there is we used to have a model where we would develop all of our documentation and assistance ahead of time. Now what we do is as you probably know, through a tooling called SQM, we instrument the products. We have a very good idea of what people are doing. We also, through ability called Watson, we understand where people are having problems in assistance. So I'm sure you know if you've gone to assistance, we ask you a little question that says, was this help topic effective, and so on. What we then do is we analyze that information, and we then use that to determine what kinds of help topics, what kinds of assistance, or even broader speaking, do we have to do some kind of campaign to help people understand. And I get a monthly report, as does Mike, of all of the particular topics that have been asked and what kind of improvements are being made.
Microphone 2.
Yeah, my name is Mike, and I'm kind of new to the solutions business. I'm looking at the Office suite and a variety of things to do with that. And my question is around runtimes. I see a lot of different models across the Microsoft product line. I think there's a free access runtime I can embed in a solution. But with Visio, for example, looking at using that in the ActiveX control, I have to buy the full Visio product. I can do an invisible install to use the ActiveX control embedded in my solution, but it's still kind of awkward that way. So is there a common strategy coming out in terms of runtimes for solution developers across Office and Access, and what's the story there? Thanks.
Well, I actually think you're asking a commercial question more than a technical question, but correct me if I'm wrong. Is that right? Okay. Will all runtimes be free? No. Well, kind of obvious. So I mean, you could say, why do we have? One might ask, why do we have any free runtimes? On the flip side, and I think there are a variety of places where the runtime is valuable, but clearly relatively transparent to the end user. Take the old C runtime, C# runtime. So in a sense, that is without charge at the runtime level. Office is used as a runtime itself. It's clearly got a lot of end user presence, and we've clearly got a commercial model around it. Same is true for Visio, same is true for Project. Access is actually almost perfectly someplace in between. It has some of the characteristics, depending on how you use it, of a classic development language, and it has some of the characteristics of a more classic Office productivity tool. There is no current thinking that we would change the commercial model for any of the aforementioned products. If you have specific sort of scenarios that you think our stuff is, we price ourselves or make ourselves too complicated to fit in some model, Steve B. at Microsoft.com and
R. Wolf
at Microsoft.com. We'd love to hear from you.
Mike, 4.
Good morning. My name is Joe Blake. I'm an independent consultant out of Boise, Idaho, J.H. Blake Associates. I'd like to say thank you very much for the most excellent project conference. This is awesome. I've been to all of them, and this is the best one yet.
Thank you. I'm glad.
My question to you is, in the latest Gartner report that I saw, Project was in the challenger area, and when do you expect Project to be in the leader area, and if you could speak to any of the competitive advantages that we're going to have over some of the other competition out there?
Sure. Well, the Gartner Quadrant is an independent company that sets rules for how they're going to rank products. One of the things
that's Mike's way of saying he thinks we're a leader, but go ahead. Just get into the competitive fray.
One of the things that they've done over time is they've changed the nature of it used to be a project management grid. They've moved to project and portfolio management to really reflect the real customer need of people being able to manage all kinds of work in an environment. And so Gartner, I've spent time with them. That's a Dan Stang, Matt Light, and other key contributors, and they're helping me understand it's the completeness of vision access that they're saying we were missing portfolio management. Well, as of today, the brand new news is we are shipping a world-class portfolio management suite, and over time, I take really seriously the needs of the market as the market continues to evolve. So when they are going to change things, I have no control over that, but I have listened to what they're pointing at in terms of the completeness of vision. Of course, we're very high on the ability to execute access, which reflects their confidence in us that Project is a very, very capable platform and here to stay.
And for what it's worth, we are the market leader in units and we are the market leader in revenue, which at least is another indicator of bets that should be made, and it's because of the work that folks in this room and many others do. But we don't want to leave any space for anybody else competitively, as Mike said, on the innovation front.
Right.
Everybody is welcome to thrive commercially, but we will lead on the innovation front.
I love that.
Let me add my 2 cents, which is that Visio actually is in the leadership so-called Magic Quadrant in the Gartner report on business process management due to its excellence as a platform for partners to add process excellence solutions.
Mike 3, thanks.
Good morning, Steve. My name is Mohammed Rupawala, and I work for Schlumberger, which is the largest oilfield services company in the world. And I have a question for you. So I'm marketing analyst for the company, and I look at corporate and business unit strategy and roadmaps and such. So obviously PowerPoint is the vehicle to visualize those. My question is, how do we capture and communicate those today and in the future? And if you could share your experiences with the Microsoft strategy team, that would be great.
No, let me make sure I understand the question before you step back. How do we systematically use PowerPoint to capture representations of strategy?
No, not just PowerPoint. So what our vision would be is that we are able to capture strategy in such a way that we can look at history and compare it. We can look at alignment, which can be across business units, for example. And in addition to capturing it at the corporate strategy team level, we can disperse it so that we can communicate it to the rank and file, taking into account appropriate security and so on.
Yeah. I would say today, and I'll invite Mike and Richard to chime in, we have great tools that facilitate doing that on a more ad hoc basis, and I particularly point to what we've got done essentially in SharePoint. If you take a look at, and I'll just use Microsoft as a case study, strategy is essentially either communicated completely ad hoc in email or in a little less ad hoc manner through a SharePoint website that people can subscribe to, et cetera, to sort of be involved with the SharePoint security model and everything else. I don't believe we have a great management system today that manages the history, the workflow, the future for this kind of a process. We were talking backstage about the number of processes. We were particularly talking about marketing as a process, but strategy falls into the same category. Mm-hmm. And I think there are ideas. We don't get, in Office 12, we don't make a major breakthrough on this dimension, but I think there's some good ideas. Maybe
I think we've invested a lot in being able to analyze execution processes for getting work done. The process around the strategy of why we did that work is new, and that's one of the directions that we continue to invest in a work management solution. Now, to be respectful of your time, Steve, I'm going to ask to take just one more question.
Why don't, to be respectful of our audience, everybody who's at the mic, you're in, and everybody who's not at a mic, right, please keep seated. Mike. Oh, there's a guy there who had to jump the gun. All right, you're in under the wire. Last four. Yeah. Gentlemen.
My name is Greg Winterhalter. I'm a Microsoft Premier Partner, Gold Partner with EPM Solutions. We're EPM Solutions LLC. My question is about the UMT acquisition. When would the UMT product be available in the sales channel, and what would be the additional cost, if any, to customers or to have that capability?
Well, the announcement that it's a closed deal is brand new today. That's actually only hours old. We will be following up really shortly with very specific news on pricing and availability, but it won't be long. I don't have a specific announcement for you this morning.
Within the next 30 days?
Within the next 30 days, you'll know.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good morning. My name is Mona Azer. I'm with Computer Sciences Corporation. I have a question regarding the licensing models and the licensing structures. What kind of changes can we look forward to with Office 12?
In general, I would say on the licensing model and the licensing structure, the answer is no significant change. On the licensing structure and model, we'll have new individual products, and they'll have prices, and we'll have new integrated offerings, and they'll have kind of their own pricing and availability. But if you look at the general pricing structure, licensing structure, there's no changes envisioned. If you have feedback and suggestions, everybody does, but it turns out everybody's suggestion is different than everybody else's. But if you have suggestions, Steve B. at Microsoft.com, I'd love to hear them.
All right, thank you.
Great. Let's move over to Mike.
Okay. All right. No, everybody who's at a mic, we're going to finish. I didn't realize the breadth of mics when I said that. I thought we only had one mic. You don't see those mics back there? Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, my name is David Kogan. I'm with Hotels.com. I'm a loyal user of the EPM solution. Currently, P11, P12, from a PM discipline, you hit all the key areas, cost management, resource management, schedule management, everything's there. I tend to find a significant gap in the area of change request management for projects. There doesn't seem to be any structure, tools, framework for executing that in an integrated environment with everything else that Project Server brings to the table. And one just wondering if there's going to be some future look into that. I'm glad to see the portfolio management stuff coming on. This seems to be a major hole.
Change request management, super important. In this release, we've got the negotiation between resource managers for sharing top-level resources as a native feature. The next wave will be to be able to handle change request, help desk tickets. And while we don't have an out-of-the-box feature for that today, I would like to point you to the extensibility and programmability, workflow event triggers, and the infrastructure that's there so that one of our enterprising ISVs can make a great application based on what we've built in 12.
Hi, my name is Ambrose Okore. I'm with Shell Oil Products in Houston. And I must say, first of all, I appreciate so much of what you guys have done in 12. It's so exciting. We're not currently using it in Shell. I would like to say that we can jump into it quickly and begin to use it. But being a very traditional company, Shell likes to, take its time and be sure that things are stable. So I've seen so much of, the product crashing and all that so quickly. Is there anything you guys are doing to be sure that when you release, it's going to be very stable?
That's an excellent question. And I do want to let you know.
And I'm going to let you answer it, Mike.
You saw the product crashing because you are the absolute first to see even the product running. So the fact that it's running is exciting. We have many months left of stability improvements, and we have a very, very long tradition in Office of stopping making changes and spending a long time stabilizing in a very predictable way and closing out the product. It's not ready yet. We don't even have a widespread beta available yet. We don't even think it's there. This is an absolutely first look preview for all of you, and we're working carefully with customers in the technical adoption program like AXA in the intro keynote, who are working with us with real live deployments to help us stabilize and ship a very, very high quality product. Richard mentioned the Customer Experience Improvement Program, which is the public name for SQIM, which is a way for us to get real-time data on the stability and performance of our systems. I mentioned before the work we're doing in error logging and performance measurement. We have the tools and we have the commitment to make sure that this is a product that Shell can run, and as well as the rest of you.
My name is Scott Chapman with Project Hosts. We host the Microsoft Project Solution and Microsoft CRM. My question is about Office Live, and what is Microsoft's vision for that, and especially with regard to Project, if that's part of the vision?
Well, what we're trying to get done right now is essentially what I might call, to start, the basic individual information worker productivity experience and some core services for the small business. That's the initial kind of mission. We will go broader over that, after subsequently. We are taking a very partner-centric view of where we want to go with Office Live. That doesn't mean it looks exactly like things do in the on-premise world, and it may mean some morphing of the kind of relationship that we have together. But we want to make sure that there are ways, if you want to host, you can host. If there's ways you want to do things, host what I'll call extensions that run on servers you run, but that work with Office Live, that works. If you want to be involved in helping us resell and earning a margin on that, there are ways to do that. So there's a variety of different ways. I'm sure at some point in time we will have project capability, but it's not V1, so to speak.
Okay, thank you.
Last question.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Alexis Lara. We're a gold partner in Dominican Republic. My question is, will PMI replace MSF?
Say again?
Will PMI, the standards, will replace MSF, Microsoft
Solution Framework?
Right.
We've been making huge technology investments, and most of what we're delivering here is an improvement in technological platform and relationships with lots of vendors of methodologies. There are so many different project management methodologies out there, and we're not going to be in a position anytime soon to completely endorse one or replace one with another. The important thing is
in project.
In project.
We do completely endorse the Microsoft Solutions Framework, lest it not be clear.
Yes, yes. And out of the box, we will start with that Microsoft Solutions Framework as a starting place for people and what we think is a great methodology, but absolutely being respectful that every different corporation, industry will bring their own methodology to bear and make it easy to put that in place.
We think we've got the right approach for developers who are really centered in our tool set on our platform. And hence, we think MSF is right. We recognize that, as Mike said, there is a diversity, and so Project will recognize that diversity. But for folks who are using our tooling, Visual Studio, targeting our platform's windows, we're trying to optimize MSF around that.
Great. Well, Steve, I thank you very much, Richard, for being here and for the attention to Project. I'd like to remind the folks in the Visio group, your buses are waiting, so your conference is on, and I know we're just a little over schedule, so expeditiously get there and get started, and thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you. It was great.